Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I feel like a stranger in my grow room. It all feels wrong. The whole place got absolutely saturated with that fungicide yesterday, and then the fans were turned on. I made sure the foggers were filled up before I started, and the room was sealed effectively. So no air change, no nothing. We did have some sun yesterday afternoon, raised the temperature up a bit, and it just got left to get on with it, basically, stewing in its juices, so to speak. But this morning when I came down, we've got a dull, rainy day today, so I'm not going to get much heat, and I was worried that stuff would still be wet, having spent the night wet as well. But the plants and everything are dry. Everything's all dried out, but the whole place felt damp and like weird. So basically I forced the extractor and the inlet on and basically changed the air. Left the door shut here and just literally changed the air and got fresh air in and extracted what was in here. And it sort of feels a bit better now, a bit more buoyant, a bit more like normal, but it's not normal yet. It still feels wrong, but nonetheless, all my mounts need watering today, so I've got to get in here and get on with it. It'd be nice to just get a little bit of sunshine today, just to raise the temperature up, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, it was a weird day yesterday, and unfortunately the exercise has got to be repeated. There's no point in doing that sort of thing once. If you don't do the repeat applications, you don't get the full effect. But yeah, didn't like that one little bit. I don't like getting my plants wet for a start. Anyway, I'll see if there's anything to actually film today. Basically, nothing was done out here yesterday, so I haven't been in here for 24 hours. I did the spray first thing in the morning and shut the place up and didn't enter it again until this morning. Changed the air, and we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, weird feeling to come into a place you know so well and it just feels wrong. It just feels different somehow. Still, we'll get it back to normal. It's strange how your perspective looks at things. This is Dendrobium hercoglossum, and it's finished its mass blooming. But if you didn't know that, you'd think it was doing it now. I've just taken probably 15 to 20 dead blooms off of this, and a lot of dendrobiums, that would be it, that would be all there was, and yet this has still got loads and it's still got buds to come. So it's just a perspective thing. I know that the mass blooming on this was better than what it looks like now, but to all intents and purposes, if you hadn't seen this plant before, you'd sort of say, oh, that's a lot of blooms. And yet that's probably only half of what there were. But it's still going strong, still more buds to come, and some just opening, and literally some buds not actually open yet. And I have noticed that on the newer leaved canes, those are last year's new growth, I've even got some buds up in there. Yeah, and there's a couple on that cane. So the continuation of blooms on this is going to be for some time. I'd say I've probably got at least another month of some blooms. Nothing like the spectacle it was a few weeks ago when it got the first on the competition table. Who knows, if nobody had ever seen it and I took it in now, would it still get the first? Smashing plant though. Pity it's not fragrant. Well, that's a bit of bad news. Although this plant is growing incredibly well, and I'm well pleased with that, I did have what I thought were a couple of flower spikes for the first time ever. Well, they're kikis. There's another one at the base of that cane as well. So, and there's the one that's growing its roots coming on. So in theory, if I've got 3 or 4 new kikis that can grow some roots, I can start a new plant. And there's no point in adding it to this mount. I don't think this plant's doing fine on its own. But I was so looking forward to blooms on this one, because it hasn't bloomed yet, and it did get a partial rest in the winter, but obviously it wasn't good enough to actually get some blooms on it, so maybe next spring then. Long wait, isn't it? Well, that's how it's going to have to be. I mean, the winter rest last year, well, this year in fact, because I started it so late, they literally only got 4 or 5 weeks of proper rest, and it's just not enough. But the time the plants reacted and adapted to the fact it was going into its rest, the weather decided that its rest was over. You know, longer days, brighter light, warmer temperatures, so, you know, rest was over, whether it liked it or not. But next year I'm going to start a lot earlier, and they should get a good 2.5 months of rest instead of about 5 weeks. And hopefully that'll be the difference on this one. It's certainly mature enough. Anyway, kikis, not flower spikes. I love it when orchids actually behave themselves and conform to normal standards. This Brassavola nodosa still in bloom and pushing up another bud on the end of the spike, which is unusual. But what I wanted to say is that new growth splits the sheath at the base, pushes out new growth, and at the same time pushes out new roots. Totally predictable. There's another new growth towards the back of the plant there, just pushing through. But the 2 leads at the front are doing exactly what is predictable on a lot of orchids. Unfortunately, there's a fair old few that I've got that don't behave like this. But yeah, that's what I call predictable. New growths equals new roots. So I know if ever I want to do something like take this off its mount or split it into 2 plants or do something with it, I know what time to do it. And it's irrelevant. The blooms are irrelevant. Whether it's in bloom or not, I don't worry. That's the bit I'd be looking for. Yeah. In this case, it's the new growths if I was going to do something with the plant. But, you know, I can update my notes and actually say new roots come when the new growths push out. Predictable. Good stuff. Still scenting. Still strong scent in the evenings. Didn't get to smell it last night for obvious reasons. The place was sealed up. But we're back in the fresh air and the open today. I thought I'd end up today on a close-up. This has got its full coloration now, Dendrobium fleckeri. It's got 1 eye on the end, which is unusual in the orchid world. If it ends in eye, it usually ends in 2, or this ends in 1. That's about as close as I can get. Let's try a zoom. That's going to make the camera wobble. Oh, I don't know. I think that's still sharp. So it's obviously the camera distance from the bloom, not whether I zoom or not. I wouldn't have thought I could get that close. But now you can see the frilly bits on the lip. That's the bit I was after, was to try and get in close enough to see inside. Now you can see the spotting and the yellow, as well as the gradation of the pale yellow from the centre out to the orange, and then those very, very pale edges to those petals and sepals. I must admit, although it's a small bloom, that is very nice indeed. And I now know that I can zoom. I wonder how much closer I can go. I'm wobbling the camera now. Nope, it's not going to have that, is it? Anyway, that's quite close in. As I say, I never thought this camera would get that close, but it can as long as everything's still. And I've only got a cough, and that whole setup there will wobble because there's all wires hanging down one below the other. The slightest bit of air movement and the bloom will move, and then it will definitely go out of focus. But yeah, nice way to end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. As I say, not a lot going on at the moment, so not a huge amount to film, not even enough really to do the cutting room floor clips idea. So just a few things as I was sort of getting back to some normality today, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.